Hey there, it's Anderson with T.R.P. Offroad. So here's that long-awaited install video on the bullet cover for the second generation Toyota Tacoma. This actually also applies for the third generation. They have the same install process. Of course, the product just looks slightly different. So I'm doing this on my own personal truck. That's right there is the I guess that's prototype number 7, or maybe it's prototype 9, I'm not sure, but it took quite a few different prototypes to get these done. So, and I have to be careful where I step because I currently don't have a bed on my truck. But all right, so here we go. You can see that's a 22 millimeter socket. This is pretty much how you'll probably receive the product, in some form of bubble wrap, something along those lines. And pardon me, it's difficult to step around here. So I'm actually going to do the install video showing you how to go up from underneath here to access everything. It's pretty straightforward. So we're going to go ahead and start now. So process number 1 is actually, you want to go ahead and remove these. So you just turn them and they come right out. Oh, well, mine's a little sticky, but that's it. You just rotate and take out. So you take both of those out, and then you move on to step number 2. So step number 2 is actually pretty straightforward and simple. You can see I'm just pulling the headliner down, and there's a plastic forming tray right here. There's actually 2. There's one here and one there. They're separate, and they split right down this seam. So what we want to do is we want to reach up there, get your fingers on it, and you just pop down. It's held in with clips, just like that. And there is plenty of room to get our fingers up into this. That's your electrical connector for the antenna. That is going to be step 3. All right, so the next step really is you've got to unplug this connector. So that connector, it pulls out in that direction. So there's a clip on the side, and the plug pulls out in that direction from that clip, just for your information, okay? So once that's done, then right past that clip, it's actually really hard to see, but there is an actual connector right there, and we've got to get our socket on that, okay? That's the next step. So once you get to the point where you've got to put a socket on it, you're almost done. That's what the nut looks like. And I almost always forget, but you really should have a wobbly there. It just makes life easier. This is a really low torque yield fastener, pretty slick. You can see that the fastener itself rotates, but the housing doesn't move, and that captures there for the electrical connection. So now that it's undone, you can literally just walk it out most of the time. Of course, it's not walking on mine the way I wanted it to, but that's how it is. I mean, we're essentially done now. So wiggle it out. Here we are. So this is what it looks like on the bottom. You just undo those 5 little fasteners. Okay, this is really all it takes to remove the antenna assembly. Keep in mind, this is my prototype. Yours will be a nice shark fin from the factory. So you have your pretty fancy little fastener there. The fastener spins, but the underbody does not, and that's because it captures the harness there. You've got a small Phillips head screwdriver, so the little guy, don't know the size. Usually my snap-on screwdrivers tell me what size they are, but I guess not this set. Then you got a 1/2-inch drive with a wobbly head and a 22 millimeter socket. 22 millimeter sockets for this. Phillips head is for these little guys, which are down here on the bottom. So once you've removed that, you remove the cover and then unwrap your product. Of course, it's stuck. And it's a reversal of the process. So we just pop this one on here and put it back down in place. This is designed to seal on your factory rubber gasket, so you shouldn't have any issues with water intrusion or anything of that matter. It seals technically better than the factory shark fin does. So again, this is for the bullet cover for a second generation Toyota Tacoma, and technically it'll work on the third gen. So just a small hint on this, you'll notice I pulled the forming tray down, and that's so that I have better access with the socket on the fastener there. And it literally all just slides up and clicks back into place, and nobody will know that you've ever done that. So there you go. I think we're all done with this install video. So again, Phillips head, 1/2 inch drive, wobbly head, 22 millimeter, and that's all it takes. It's pretty straightforward. Total time for this install, if I was to actually time myself, is somewhere around 5 minutes. It doesn't take much time at all. Oh, and I'll give you a little sneak peek of something. So I mentioned a sneak peek. There it is. I'm calling this the Sideshooter. This is the antenna cover for the third generation Tacoma. So it's actually a 2-piece cover, and it needs to be a 2-piece cover because you can see it's a nice tight fit. Because the inside there, that's where the AM/FM antenna screws into place. So you've got to screw the AM/FM antenna there, and you use a small little electrical connector to connect the antenna to the board on the third gen, and then you mount it down just as you would the bullet cover for a second gen. The install's the same for a third gen. It's a non-symmetrical design only because if you can imagine the symmetry, it would be this wide, which means that's much wider than my hand. So it becomes a big piece. And the symmetry of, or the asymmetry of this looks pretty good. Honestly, the only time that you can't really tell its real big difference is when we're talking standing up here and looking directly down on it. But from the back, you really can't tell the difference, or from the front. All right, so there we go. So install on the bullet cover as well as the Sideshooter has been covered in this video. If anybody has any more questions, just go ahead and shoot them down below. Thanks. Happy trails.